¿Dónde está? ¿Cómo está? If someone asked you those two questions right now, could you answer without freezing up? Most Spanish learners spend months learning how to describe what they did, but they can't say where they are or how they feel. And those are the two questions that usually start real conversations. So today we fix that. By the end of this lesson, you'll be describing locations and conditions in Spanish using one verb, estar, in the present tense. You'll expand your vocabulary so you can answer those questions in greater detail. And Bad Bunny's first album will make we're okay, they're okay, everything's okay completely unforgettable. Vamos. We're in chapter 20 of Madrigal's Magic Key to Spanish. And if you were with us back in chapter 9, you already got a taste of this verb, estar. ¿Dónde está? ¿Cómo está? You've been using it. But today we go all the way, full conjugation. Here's what you've been using so far. This is the example we used with ¿dónde? You remember our werewolf. He helps us remember how to ask where, ¿dónde? We learned what está en casa means. And with how, ¿cómo? We learned this simple exchange. ¿Está bien? Está bien. But now we expand because estar doesn't stop at está. Note that está is the singular form for the third person and the second person. That's why we have our triangle here. He, she, it, and our respectful way of saying you, usted, are all used with this form, está. And if you want to use the plural form, it's están. We just add that N. And that's why we have two triangles here. So that would be they're okay, or y'all are well, or y'all are okay. And here are the first person forms. For singular, I am, estoy, and for the plural form, we are, is estamos. And you can see bien can be translated to okay, well, fine. You walked in already knowing está, so really you just learned 3 new words. That's it. So here's our plan to make this easy and memorable. Our song is up next. We'll be saying, we're fine, they're fine, everything's fine with the song Estamos Bien by Bad Bunny. Then we'll learn some new vocabulary to describe how and where. We'll have 2 spin and speak challenges, one for the singular form, estoy and está, and one for the plural forms, estamos and están. And of course, our witty dialogues at the end, so you leave here thinking in Spanish. Let's get the party started with Bad Bunny. Most everyone's heard of him by now. Puerto Rican, global superstar. The fact that his album, Debí Tirar Más Fotos, was the first fully Spanish language album to win the Album of the Year Grammy. Not a Latin Grammy, but just a Grammy, indicates the growing power and popularity of music in Spanish. Aren't you glad you're joining this global culture? We're listening to the song Estamos Bien, which is from his first album in 2018. He sang the song on his TV debut on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. Before singing it, he reminded the audience of the devastation that Hurricane Maria had caused the previous year and that some people were still without electricity. While the song describes everything as being just fine, there's a bit of an edge to saying, yeah, we're fine. Bad Bunny is edgy. Now, the song is from the album Por Siempre, which means forever. The way he wrote it here, this is a shorthand way to say por siempre, because this X is how you say por, like multiplication, por, and then 100 is cien. This would technically be por siempre, but it sounds like por siempre. So that's shorthand for forever. Here are the lyrics. You can see our target verbs are in red. We also have that word cien, 100, like we just talked about in the album title. He begins the song by saying, we're fine, which would be estamos bien. But you don't really hear the S, so it just says, estamos bien. Bad Bunny is from the Caribbean. He's from Puerto Rico, so we're not going to hear a lot of those final S's on some of these words. So that's why these S's are in a lighter color. But you understand the meaning. So again, he starts off with saying, we're fine, estamos bien. Estamos bien. And then he says, there are plenty of $100 bills. There is nothing wrong. Sobran los billetes de 100. There's that 100. There is nothing wrong. You already know how to say there is. Hay. So there is nothing. No hay nada. Mal. There it is again. We're fine. Estamos bien. Está todo bien. Everything is fine. All mine are fine, like all my people are fine. This would be todos los míos están bien. But he shortens the todo, and it just sounds like to. And then los, you'll just hear lo. And then los míos are mine. Están, that agrees, are fine. Están bien. And then again, we're fine. Estamos bien. And he says, don't worry. Don't preoccupy yourself. No te preocupes. Estamos bien. We're fine. And after he says this line, no te preocupes, estamos bien, this part will repeat again. So you'll be able to hear that one more time. Vamos a escuchar.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Estamos bien. Yeah, sobre los billetes. Yeah, yeah. No hay nada malo, estamos bien, está todo bien. Ey, todos los míos están bien, estamos bien. Ey, no te preocupes, estamos bien. Ey, sobre los billetes. Yeah, no hay nada malo, estamos bien, está todo bien. Ey, todos los míos están bien, estamos bien. Ey.
Are you singing along? Is that stuck in your head? Good. That's the point. Remember, music connects us and it helps our brains remember. Estamos bien, estamos bien. Hey, you can throw in that A if you want to do your Bad Bunny impersonation. Okay, so now that that's stuck in your ears, let's expand your vocabulary so you can talk about real people and real situations, and this will be Spanish that you can use. Okay, I love using this line from Saturday Night Live when Bad Bunny hosted, and they did a skit on ways to make Spanish difficult for people to learn, especially this part about words being masculine or feminine. Nouns and adjectives have to agree. It's especially relevant to this lesson on estar because the adjective needs to agree with the gender of the person being described. Here's a great list of adjectives for you to expand your vocabulary. You can see the ending changes depending on the gender of the person. Now these are all singular because our question is ¿Cómo está? And we could respond with estoy or está. Let's just read through these quickly. I'll read the masculine form because the O is there first. Contento, cansado, enfermo, enojado, listo, ocupado, preocupado, solo, triste. And if it ends with an E, that goes for both masculine and feminine. Here are those same words with os or as. So these go with the plural forms that go with estamos and están. We are, or they are, or you all are. Let's read through these with the plural feminine form. Contentas, cansadas, enfermas, enojadas, listas, ocupadas, preocupadas, solas, tristes. Excelente. Now let's make this automatic with the Spin and Speak challenge. We'll build sentences and questions with the singular forms here. So you can see we have all of our verb forms here on the left. Estoy. And you would answer if you are male, you would use these. If you're female, you would use these. Está usted. And then with Alicia está, those are going to go with the A. Roberto está. Those are going to go with the O. I'm going to be. Voy a estar. So again, whether you are male or female, you'll choose that. Ana va a estar. Ana is going to be. Those will also use the adjectives here that end in a to agree with Ana. Let's do a few for practice. So I'm happy. Estoy contenta. Let's say Alicia is busy. Alicia está ocupada. And let's say Roberto is alone. Roberto está solo. If you want to tell somebody, I'm going to be busy, voy a estar ocupada. Set the timer and do as many sentences and questions as you can with these words. Excelente. Here are those same adjectives in the plural form, and our verbs over here are also in the plural form. So let's say we're fine. Estamos bien. And let's ask, are they better? ¿Están mejor? So again, set the timer. I'll see you in a minute. Excelente. So you're not memorizing conjugation tables, you're building sentences in Spanish. That's thinking in Spanish. Now, while we're on the topic of gender, I mentioned back in chapter 2 about the movement toward gender-neutral Spanish with the E ending. The Real Academia Española hasn't approved it officially, but it exists and you may encounter it. And here's why it matters. When Claudia Sheinbaum was inaugurated as Mexico's president in 2024, there was discussion around the word presidenta with an A. The word presidente technically works for both male and female, but as the quote that trended everywhere said, if it isn't named, it doesn't exist. These lessons follow Madrigal's magic key, so our adjectives use O and A, but you should know this conversation is happening in the Spanish-speaking world. Language is alive. This chapter also expands your vocabulary to say where a person may be. Let's read through these quickly. Notice that these words are nouns, so there's no O or A to change on the ending. Rather, it's the article, el or la, that has to agree. This is where that joke is really funny. These words aren't boys or girls, but that el is masculine and that la is feminine. So let's read through these locations real quick. En casa, en el baño, en la cocina, en el comedor, en el cuarto, en la biblioteca, en la librería, en la ciudad, en el campo, en el edificio, en la cárcel, en la farmacia. Notice here, librería, there's an accent mark on that I, so we separate these two sounds, ia, librería, but there isn't one here, so the stress is going to be on this syllable, farmacia. All of these could go with the singular and the plural forms because they're all just locations. It's the adjectives that have to change. So you might want to pause and take a screenshot of this and just get some practice with those words and making some sentences and asking questions. Excelente. You're doing a great job. Here are your cognate patterns from this chapter. Words that end in URE and in URA in Spanish. Some are nouns and some are adjectives. And words that end in UTE and in UTO in Spanish. And also some are nouns and some are adjectives. If it's an adjective, that's why that last letter will change because it has to agree with the gender of the person or the gender of the word. There is a typo in Madrigal's text, if you catch that, but this is the correct way to write that, sustituto or oscuro. And now our dialogues, real exchanges, real Spanish. Read these along with me. You can do it. ¿Cómo está usted? Bien, gracias. Estoy un poco cansada, pero bien. ¿Cómo está María? María está cansada porque trabajó mucho ayer. ¿Cómo está Carlos? Carlos está preocupado porque su papá está enfermo. Su papá está en el hospital. Carlos no va a estar en la fiesta. ¿Invitó usted a Alicia a la fiesta? Sí, pero Alicia está ocupada. No va a estar en la fiesta. So you can see this agreeing. Papá is enfermo. So Carlos isn't going to be in the fiesta. No va a estar. And Alicia is ocupada. That's why she's not going to be at the party. ¿Dónde están Teresa y José? Están en el campo. Están contentos cuando están en el campo. ¿Cómo está Alberto? Alberto está solo y un poco triste. Invité a Alberto a la fiesta. ¿Dónde está Roberto? Roberto está en casa. está en la cocina. Está contento en la cocina. ¿Y cómo está usted? Estoy mejor, gracias. Estoy lista para la fiesta. Perfecto. Vamos. So again, you can see how this is all agreeing. They, están, and contentos. So read through this dialogue a couple of times so you feel even more comfortable with your pronunciation. Excelente. Did you follow all that? Did you understand those conversations without having to translate every single word? Great job. Give yourself a pat on the back. So to wrap up, ¿dónde and cómo? They take estar. Location and condition, that's estar. Estoy bien. Estamos bien. Están en casa. Todo está bien. You came in knowing está, and now you know the whole verb. Great job. You can get more practice with our song if you go to our Songs to Practice Spanish playlist. The next chapter, 21, will take estar one step farther. When we use the present progressive, like saying I am dancing, we have a form of estar and we add that ing form. And the song next week will have us not only singing, but also dancing. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Thank you for joining me here at Tentáculo Clases y Cultura. Yo me llamo Kelly. Muchas gracias y nos vemos.